can start.
Welcome back to the Nextv Series for Europe and the CEE. My name is Philip O'Connor and we're just past the halfway point of our 3 days of webinars. Over the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to get our teeth into a subject that is of huge interest to the industry right now, namely OTT delivery and the potential of Apple TV. Remember that you can ask questions using the chat function and they'll be passed on to us here at Mission Control, so please don't hesitate to get involved. With me today are Xavier Leclercq, who's Vice President of Business Development at Broadpeak, and Ronen Gutmanovitz, who is Head of TV and New Media Delivery at Partner Communications. Gentlemen, just to get started, Xavier, maybe I'll start with you. Could you just tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do there at Broadpeak?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. So Broadpeak provides software solutions for operators looking to build their video services. From Cloud DVR, Content Delivery Network, so CDN, Nano CDN for multicast DVR, as well as advertising, analytics. We work with a wide range of customers from Orange, Deutsche Telekom, Beeline, for example, partner here today. And one important driver is the transition to full ABR services and the OTT delivery, right? Delivery to OTT devices like the Apple TV. So yeah, I'm in charge of the business development team that is responsible for mid and long-term relationship with customers and partners to help Broadpeak continue to grow.
I can't wait to get into that subject with you, Xavier, because you and I have spoken off air and it really is something fascinating. But another fascinating gentleman that we have with us today is Ronen Gutmanovitz. Ronen, you're at Partner Communications there. I believe you're based in Israel. So can you just explain your perspective on things, which sector of the industry you're coming from and what you guys are doing there?
Yeah, okay, great to be here with you. And I'm so happy to be with you and with our partner Broadpeak to talk about this exciting time we're having the last month for as OTT operator. So Partner TV offers an amazing experience with almost 100 live channels, up to 40 days catch up on all channels, huge VOD catalog built from our local and international content, mixed with content we aggregate from Netflix, Amazon, and other apps. Partner TV offers them a full multi-screen service. It enabled our customers to have a seamless experience on all devices. All our content is available on our Android TV set-top boxes, on smart TVs, on mobile devices, tablet PCs, and of course on Apple TV, which we are going to discuss today. Partner TV is also a full addressable TV, so we are serving programmatic ads targeted to our audience, and also our super aggregator strategy, which we have chosen from day one, made us to build a very deep integration with our content partners. For example, we were proud to say that we are the 8th operator in the world that is able to sell Netflix bundles as part of the Partner TV offering. We were also one of the first Android TV boxes in the world to certify Amazon Prime. So we have a full stack of content partners, and our strategy is to offer this bundle of services with a seamless content discovery experience personalized to our customers, and this is what we're serving today.
Why did Partner Communications choose to deliver services via Apple TV? What do you see as possibilities there? What were the drivers behind that decision?
So I think it's also connected to our super aggregator strategy. We believe that bringing all sources of entertainment into a single box and a single bill is the best way. We started with the Android TV operator tier, and then we expanded to Apple TV as we saw the demand coming from our customers. The approach we took is to offer Apple TV with the Partner TV service. And consumers like the link between Partner and Apple for billing, for having local support in Hebrew. So this is a major key for them.
This is something I find as a consumer of these kinds of things. It's a really sort of simple thing for me to be able to use Apple TV. I also use Android TV, so I use both kinds of boxes for different kinds of services. But that idea of being able to bill in the same place and, you know, avoiding all this thing of, 56 different invoices in my inbox. Javier, if you look at the industry as a whole, is this the trend that we're seeing elsewhere, where everything is sort of funneling down into services like those being offered by Partner?
Yeah, it's a really good question, right? And we've seen, I think we go back the last few years, right? We've seen a push of new set-top box environments, right? New OTT devices that are going to be used as set-top boxes. I'm thinking, about Android TV, for example, that has been rising in many customer deployment. This has been a major topic in the industry. And what we're seeing is very much Apple TV now complementing the offering, right? We're seeing quite a few operators starting to offer their services specifically on Apple TV. So where we are now, I think, is really interesting because it's not too dissimilar from where the mobile industry was about 10 years ago. If you remember, with OS like Symbian or Nokia phones, I'm going back, right?
This is a history lesson right here, yeah.
Yeah, I'm known to be doing that sometimes. Yeah, but yeah, BlackBerry, that, right? All those disappeared after basically iOS and Android took the center stage. So here, I believe it's very similar, right? I believe we have Apple TV and Android TV that are going to be the main two platform for the set-top box in the coming year. And unfortunately, some other legacy set-top box operating system, the ones that are not open, I think that's the main difference, because with Android TV and Apple TV, you can easily bundle more content into it. You can have your Netflix, your DAZN, your Disney Plus onto it alongside your operator TV platform. I think they're simply going to be replaced, right? So yeah, there's a big push. We see many entities, could name, customers like Proximus in Belgium, EE here in the UK, Salt maybe in Switzerland, who have been launching their video services on Apple TV. And the idea is very simple. As a subscriber, you get a discount if you buy an Apple TV from your ISP, right? So I think, this is definitely happening across the industry.
One of the major drivers behind video on demand, behind these kinds of services, or certainly the demand for content, has been the COVID-19 pandemic. An awful lot of people are spending an awful lot more time at home. And we've also removed the commute. So you're not talking about people consuming video on mobile devices on public transport or that. But and this question is for both of you, have you both seen an increase in usage of video services? And do you have to scale things to make this work a little bit better for consumers then? Gute, maybe I'll put that question to you first.
Okay, so as an OTT operator, the past year was absolutely amazing experience for us. We saw the watching pattern change dramatically. During the lockdown in Israel, we see people are starting the day a little bit later, as they don't need to be on the road for the work, and going to bed later. But one thing I can say for sure, they're watching more and more TV on every screen they have. In the past, we used to see traffic peaks at evening time where everyone sat on the couch, see the live streaming on the same time. Now our customer changed the way they consume content. We see very high traffic moved from live to catch up, our time-shifted TV. At first day, we were surprised to see VOD peaks during noontime, where all students finished their remote lessons on the same time. So it's really an amazing time. During the first lockdown in Israel, we collaborate with the Israeli Ministry of Education and set up 24 live channels, broadcasting lessons per each grade in 2 different languages. Here at Partner, we felt it's a national mission to distribute those channels to households that found themselves without a personal computer for each child. Using Broadpeak technology, we were able to adjust very easily to the new game. We used Broadpeak analytics tool to monitor the traffic and to adjust toward the forecasted traffic. It was a very nice learning experience for me and for my team.
It's a fascinating project, Javier, just that educational aspect of it. How were you able to deliver that, especially when it came to the live traffic?
Yeah,
So,
it's
sorry. Go ahead.
Now, I was just going to jump in, right, and talk a little bit about education and what it means. I mean, there's definitely a shift in some of the viewing patterns. I think Gute here explained how more people have moved to on-demand viewing, which, you know, is really interesting. People make the move and they don't come back to what used to be the linear viewing. So I think COVID has definitely accelerated the transition. This is something we've seen across other devices. But something that people maybe don't talk about so much is the increase of live as well. People have been watching more live content. And at the same time, you know, the fact that the news were, you know, more popular, the fact that we had a lot of government briefings being announced at the same time. So we have seen more people watching live, and live in the context of Apple TV remain a challenge, right? Because live on an Apple TV is still based on ABR, right? So unicast ABR. And when you have 1 million Apple TV, for example, in a network watching live content at the same time, it's 1 million streams being served from the network. So this can pose a scalability problem. So this COVID, you know, period that actually, you know, has opened up, you know, the sometimes the challenge linked with live delivery to OTT devices like the Apple TV. And one way to tackle it is using multicast ABR, right? So it's a technology where you basically use the scalability of multicast in your network. So your network is enabled to deliver a multicast stream. That's a stream that's going to go across your network. It doesn't have to be, you know, it's not a single stream per user. It's one stream that gets to whoever wants to watch it, if you like. And then this technology basically delivers content all the way into the home. And in the home, you have an agent that converts it back from multicast to unicast, so it can be used, content can be consumed on an Apple TV, on a connected TV, on a set-top box. Is completely transparent for the end user. So what we've seen over the last, I would say 6 to 9 months is more interest for multicast ABR. And we have also ported basically this agent that typically can run on the gateway in your home, so then all your devices can receive multicast. We ported this agent also onto the Apple TV. So today you can deliver a multicast ABR stream all the way to an Apple TV, and you don't have the scalability problem that you may have if you have, you know, 1 million set-top boxes watching the same content at the same time.
If we cast our minds back, gentlemen, to the beginning of the pandemic, you'll remember that basically all sport was cancelled. So live sport was out the window, and that was kind of replaced. The new sport became sort of watching these government briefings. I know in Sweden here, everybody was around their TV at 2 o'clock every day. But now sport has come back. We've recently had an American presidential election where it seems that every household around the world was streaming CNN and NBC. Have you guys seen any changes in patterns at that time? Are the networks able to cope? Are the codecs able to cope with these large volumes of traffic that's suddenly being streamed into homes onto Android and Apple TVs?
So I think that here we were amazed to see that some of the watching patterns is here to stay. Okay, so yes, now sports events came back, and we see more live streams on that. But still, we see part of the traffic. You know, it's more like changing the customer behavior, and it was changed, and I think it will never go back. Okay, so we see the customer patterns are changed, and customer prefer to see, even if they can see, and this is not the story of sport events. Sport events are always live events, but still we see that main part of the watching is still, even that you know, our life was a little bit came back to normal in Israel. Okay, we're doing now steps of getting back to normalization, and hopefully we will stay like this. But still, we see that some of the patterns are here to stay. We see, yeah, the customers are watching time-shifted TV, watching more VOD, and for sure watching more and more on all screens. And this is an amazing fact for me. And for live sports event, yeah, for sure, Israel is a very fans of sports, and no one will never lose its local team on a game, on a live stream.
Who do you support, Gute? Who's your local team?
I'm prefer not to say here. It's I'm in a small place, and the team is not doing so well. So let's
We
discuss it between us later on.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right.
save you that embarrassment, Gute, because nobody likes to say they don't like to hold up their hand and say that I support the losing team. But I'm sure they're well worthy of your love either way. I'd just like to remind those who are watching and listening around the world that you do have the chance to ask questions, and I would advise you strongly to take that chance to ask these two gentlemen questions because they've forgotten more about this business than any of us will already know. So take that chance, pop them in the chat there, and they'll be passed on to us here, and then I'll pass them on to the two gentlemen. With all that's happened, and Gute, I find it fascinating you're saying that things have changed and that we're not going to go back. So with that in mind, what are the benefits for you of delivering services to and via Apple TV?
So I think first we need to understand the Apple TV ecosystem and the Apple story. Here at Partner TV, we found out that it is useful to segment the market, and Apple TV is one of the multiple devices we offer to deliver our services, and we can track the category of users who like the Apple ecosystem. And Partner is a quad play, so we are offering also mobile services and internet services, and so it linked to a more wider Apple ecosystem. So it's easier to segment these users, to bundle their Apple services. Their customers are likely to be premium that are ready to pay for high quality, fully integrated solution across all services and all Apple services and all devices. So we're taking them as a segment of customers, and we're able to offer them solutions across devices and across services. And this is very nice.
Javier?
Yeah, so I was just going to jump in because I think Partner is in a unique position in a sense that they have come in with basically OTT-based delivery. They didn't have any legacy TV systems in place. There was no IPTV. There was no no content delivered over, RTSP or with transport stream, the sort of, legacy way of doing it. But I think for some customers, this is also the opportunity to simplify the delivery, right? So people who have actually quite a lot of legacy, quite a lot of technology that have been evolving over the last 5 or 10 years, by moving to ABR, it's actually the possibility to simplify the ecosystem, to get rid of some of the legacy set-top box integration that's quite costly and difficult to evolve at times. It's the possibility to retire some of the broadcast, some of the IPTV, for example, technology. I'm thinking about conditional access. You can replace that with DRM and do just DRM for all your streams. It's the ability to do a converged headend. So you have a single headend that's going to source content for all your devices. So it can be, I think, a lot easier in the end to deliver content to Apple TV and the other OTT devices than having to, keep, multiple silos for delivery onto the legacy and the new world, right? So I think this is also the opportunity to simplify everything, if you like.
Could I ask you both, just on that particular subject, this simplification, Gute, you mentioned there that people want to sort of simplify their ecosystem, okay? I'm one of these weird people where I use both Apple TV and Android. I use a lot of Apple computers like most people in the media business, but I have an Android phone, and there are sometimes sort of slight clashes. How important do you think it is to consumers to have this sort of clean ecosystem, that they know that, my password for iCloud is going to work on my Mac, it's going to work on my phone, that these services that you providing are also going to be accessible there? Is it very important to consumers to have that situation, do you think?
So I think that we see different cases. Okay, one case is for we see as TV operator that those Apple customers which will take only Apple services and only Apple devices. So for sure they will go on Apple services and devices end to end. Their account will be the same, and they will have the super integrated services across their devices. But we also say that customers are taking Apple TV devices specifically for example, for some room in the house. So, for example, we see customers taking Apple TV for the living room because they want there to have, I don't know, a more seamless experience with their other devices. But for the kids, for other rooms in the house, they will take Android TV. I think it's very rare to find a customer that will take 5 Apple TV devices because there are probably he can have an Android device which is a little bit more cheaper. So we see different cases in our customers.
Xavier, do you think that people who plumb for, say, Android over Apple, is it the price that makes them do that? Is the content the same? Is the functionality the same and it's just price, or is there any difference there, do you think?
Good question, right? I think there's an element of people being locked in ecosystems, right? So once you're onto the Apple ecosystem, you have iCloud, you know, things synchronizing everywhere, your pictures on your iPad, get onto your computer and all that, and it makes life very easy. So I think there's an element of locking people inside ecosystems, right? And as Gute was saying, once you have customers who are locked into the Apple ecosystem, it's a lot easier for them to be able to watch their content onto an Apple TV. They can, you know, they can share their content with AirPlay from their phone onto the Apple TV, play it on the big screen. So I think it's, you know, there's an element of that. The other thing maybe that is interesting here is the quality and the simplicity. Typically, people who use Apple devices are willing to pay a little bit more for the simplicity. I think iCloud is a good example, right? Everything is integrated, everything is simple to use. And here, you know, what it means for our customers deploying their video services onto Apple TV is that they are going to need to give this experience, this superior experience. So content has to be 4K, have to be able to zap, you know, between the channels quickly. The picture quality has to be very good. So I think what is interesting here is the consequence of the Apple expectations. You know, if I'm in this ecosystem, I expect the same when I'm going to consume the video services from a company like Partner, right? So it is interesting to see the shift of the demand basically back onto the ISP. And if the quality of the delivery on the ISP network isn't good enough, then it's going to be very apparent for the end user. So there is definitely here, I think, a point of attention. And I think Gute mentioned analytics to be able to see how delivery is being made. So delivery with analytics is one. And then also the quality of your network, quality of your video delivery becomes very, very important, I think.
We spoke about both systems, about Apple TVs and Android TVs. How different is it? Because each of those ecosystems, they have their own features. They're built in different ways. How different is it to deliver content to an Apple TV, Gute?
So, you know, Apple TV is a premium device, and the Apple customers are expecting to have the best TV experience with across devices. With state-of-the-art UX, smooth navigation, high-quality video. Less than that is not an option, and we are happy to offer such an experience to our customers with our partners. I Feel Smart, which build our state-of-the-art operator TV app, and of course with Broadpeak, our CDN. Maybe more technically speaking on handling Android versus iOS. So adapting our solution to use different DRM, different packaging, it was really easy for us as we're using Broadpeak technology, which enabled us to do packaging and encryption on the fly. So we don't need to have two different platforms, one for AGLS and one for Dash, two different platforms, one for Fairplay and one for Whitevine. So it's all packed on the same workflow, and technically speaking, this is very easy for us. Maybe one additional aspect is the user experience. On the last year, I think we see that Apple understand the value of the operator and starting to move forward towards an operator tier approach, which is similar to what we're doing with Android TV. I think that the first step we see is the Apple TV distribution program, which enabled to have an improved experience on a box coming from operator. and this is really nice.
Yeah, is that something that you as an operator that you've been lobbying for? Is this something that you would really like to see? Do you say, look, Apple, this is what Android do. This is the way we want to run our business. Is that something that, is that a conversation that you've had with them?
I think this is always on the table, but you know, I think that something Apple started with a very closed garden services, and over the years they're moving more and more to more open garden. Of course, as long as you keep their standard for UX, for everything. But we see that they understand that it's not a direct the direct distribution to customers is one thing, but they can see the value of working with operators and they understand that the customers also see the value of doing Apple TV and Apple services with operators in one bill, with the local support, everything. So I think that they're doing more steps on this area, and for sure, partner is not the only operator that putting that on the table for them.
Xavier, could I ask you, how different is it for you to be delivering content to an Apple TV? How do you go the extra mile for people that you work with, like partner, to be able to do that?
Yeah, I think just to bounce on what Gute was saying, I think the evolution from basically what used to be Android TV when it first came out to the operator tier, I think Apple is sort of wondering and planning probably how to do something similar. So I think this is interesting, something to keep an eye on, because those are big changes in the industry. Now to get back to your question, yeah. So when we deliver to OTT, it's full ABR, right? So basically, there's no broadcast tag. So whether we deliver to Android TV or to Apple TV, it's usually through a CDN, content delivery network, using unicast. And what you get is basically the benefit of innovation around ABR, like the new protocols, to improve the quality of experience, or easier integration as well when you launch new modules like an advertising solution onto ABR. So whether you do it on Apple or on Android TV is similar. One thing that is important in both cases is having a distributed CDN, right? So being able to serve content as close as you can to the end user. By doing this, you give the best possible experience because you reduce the chances of network congestion or quality dropping out, so rebuffering, low resolution on screen. So always, distribute your CDN as close as you can to get the best possible experience. I think in terms of differences, in a way, it's similar to Apple and Android, right? In the sense that if you look at Apple, the way the ecosystem Apple works on an iPhone, if you look onto tvOS and the Apple TV, it's the same sort of control that Apple has, right? So if you look at the video player, for example, if you want to deliver video to a tvOS device, you have to use the Apple player, the AV player. You cannot use other players. You have to rely on AV player. So that means everything is specified by Apple. If there's a specification explaining you what this player can and cannot do. And that enables them to drive innovation onto the platform, something that is probably harder to do on other platforms. So, it's interesting because by specifying how the player is going to work, we see new optimization, they can mandate a move from HTTP 1 to HTTP 2. And we know some legacy delivery platforms don't support HTTP 1. So don't support HTTP 2, they only support HTTP 1. So that's going to be a challenge for them to deliver onto an Apple TV. And what is interesting, it's also learning from the Apple experience. They specify, they make a long list of recommendations how to deliver content for the best possible experience. And that include also TCP optimization, like advanced control of the congestion for TCP. And when you put all of this together, I think it's very much driving a part of the industry that tries to improve the quality of experience on those OTT devices. I think there is still a way to go to get to the level of expectations that we all have. We all want 4K. We don't want any rebuffering. We don't want any low quality. And I think Apple here, by specifying how the player works, basically drags the rest of the industry along. And I think that's really positive.
How open are Apple to changes like this? So we'll say that you guys have had a partnership and a very successful partnership for quite a long time. If you discover something and you go back to Apple and say, look, you know, we've been working with Partner, we've been working with Broadpeak, we've come up with this thing, maybe you might like to implement that, or maybe you might like to sell it to them. Can you have those conversations with them? Because very often these ecosystems are quite closed and maybe they don't want a whole lot of feedback because they like these things how they are. Do you find Apple very receptive to those discussions?
It's been an interesting conversation with Apple, right? So we talk to Apple on a semi-regular basis. I think a good example of what's happening with Apple is not just with Broadpeak, but the broader sort of consultation that Apple did for low latency, right? So Apple was very keen to launch their low latency HLS version. And they did this by first getting out a draft, I think that was about 2 years ago, into the industry, saying, what do you think of this, right? So there was very much this dialogue you're thinking about between vendors and Apple. So they've been receptive to this. I think this has been a very positive interaction with Apple. And generally speaking, I think Apple realized now that the way to get into the living room can't just be a bring your own device approach. So it has to be with operators. And it has to be with the vendors that help operators deliver the services. So yes, the conversation is open. We speak regularly, semi-regularly with Apple, I would say, and I think there is more to do, when it comes to the latest distribution, but it's definitely moving forward. Yeah.
Gute, you as an operator, do you have somebody at Apple that you can call up and say, hey, I have an idea, or hey, I have a problem? Do you have a very direct relationship with them, or does it go through Broadpeak? How does that relationship work for you?
Sure. We discussed previously about the approach Apple is taking with operators, and we see that even here. So we have a technical partner manager on Apple, which is a very technical guy. He used to work on Apple R&D, and he has direct access to a lot of resources, and sometimes even to the R&D teams by itself. And when we have questions or some suggestion or something that we are feeling that currently we are blocked to do, and we want to unleash this block. So yeah, we have this guy. And he's fully cooperative. I think that he see, and this is, it's not the guy. It's coming from above. I think that Apple understand more and more that if they will be able to serve, technically speaking, their technology will be able to serve the real needs of the customers, they will do best. So, and we see this approach with you guys were talking, it's very easy.
Just one question that I have for both of you. We're still waiting for any questions that the viewers might have. So in the meantime, I'm going to ask one of my personal questions. Last week, it took about sort of 2 weeks ago now since the votes were started being counted in the American presidential election. And last week I was doing a similar event, and I was here with my little old Apple TV, right? First generation Apple TV. And I was watching a streaming news service from the US. And one of the things that I talked about, or that I thought of right then, was this thing of latency, guys, where you have something that's happening in real time, right? Votes are being counted, news is breaking. It's the same thing for sports, even though Gute doesn't want to admit to what club he supports, and that's fine. But we have this issue of latency there all the time. Can you see anything happening that's going to sort of close that gap between, live news and live sport happening and getting it even faster to Apple and Android TVs? Xavier, maybe you might start by giving your feelings on that.
Yeah, sure. So we've seen a resurgence, what I would say, what we call a resurgence of low latency towards the end of this year, right? With live sports coming back. You mentioned the elections as well. People, waiting eagerly for some of the results. And yes, the good news is, yes, there are things happening on the Apple ecosystem. There is the introduction of low latency HLS that was just, talking about earlier on iOS and tvOS, right? So if I recall correctly, this was introduced back in September on the device, right? So if you have an iOS 14 or a tvOS 14 device, you have now the capability of playing back those low latency streams. So this is, like low latency is not a new topic in industry, but this is done the Apple way. So with a set of specification, done by Apple. And the idea here is very much to bring latency down to 2 to 3 seconds, right? So that's the target. I think what is interesting here is, given that Apple has done it on the device, they enable the playback of low latency already to about 1 billion devices already on the market, right? So this is the power of Apple. When I was saying earlier, they can pull the industry. This is a specification. We know it works, and I'm personally convinced that this is a way for evolution on low latency, right? If you look at what's been done on low latency in the past, we have a low latency dash, specified by MPEG. This has been on the market for some time, but it's been sort of fragmented. Some packagers supporting some things, some players not supporting those things. I mean, it's been sort of a little bit fragmented. Here with Apple, is very clear. This is what the device can do. This is what you need to do on your CDN and your packager to do it. Here we go. Build your prototype, build your product, and you will be able to deliver low latency streams. So I think this is, this is why, in my mind, low latency HLS is going to be adopted faster than what we've seen with Dash previously.
If you look at the analytics, if you look at the people that use your services, the people that sort of pay your wages and our wages in this business, if you look at all the market data that you have, what do they want from you? Do they want mostly video on demand? Do they watch mostly live content? Do they want low latency, or are they okay with a 30-second delay? What are your customers telling you at this point in time, partner?
So first, you ask if we pay attention to latency on video delivery. The answer is very clear. We have to. Okay, here in Israel, it's a very competitive market on every areas, and of course, when it comes to low latency, there is a lot of sport fans, and they want to bring the best playback experience. Live streams cannot be delayed, and not only for sports, for every live event. And you mentioned everyone want to get the video at the same time they're getting the push notification on their device, and this is always a fight. It's a fight to bring the video at the same time. And of course, we need to pay attention also to the internet quality, and sometimes it's hard to do that. Okay, but I think that we see latest technology trying to tackle those challenges very nicely. And also, we discussed before the difference between Android TV and Apple TV. So one thing on Apple TV, and Xavier mentioned it before, is that it's the same player, the same box, the same ecosystem handling the video. So Apple are able to run very fast with technology, and if you adjust to the technology, so at one time you are adjusting to all the devices, don't need to do any specific adjustments, and on that it's more easier to do that.
Javier, if you take it sort of out of the hands of the consumer and you say, okay, you're in the ecosystem now, you have this device, you have this operating system, you have all these components, then it falls back on the broadcasters or the content creators and the network service providers. Who's going to be the ones leading the charge towards this lower latency, and who has responsibility for that, do you think?
Yeah, I think what is interesting is when low latency becomes a differentiator, right? I think Gute mentioned Israel being, a competitive market for low latency. We've seen, based on, conversation in the market, that sometimes, it becomes so much of a differentiator that it can generate churn, right? People may leave a specific service provider to get onto somebody else's service that will be 20 seconds, 25 seconds closer to live, right? So this is a real thing, right? And it comes down to basically the service provider putting together the solution to look at optimization along the way. So throughout the delivery chain, on your packaging, on your CDN, on your client, to make sure that you have something capable of delivering low latency. So the onus is very much on the service provider to pick the right building blocks to end up with this low latency platform at the end.
Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to take out your crystal ball now and to look into the future for me. If we look at in 4 years' time, there will have been another American presidential election. There will have been another World Cup. There will have been another European Championships. And hopefully, this pandemic will just be a footnote in history by then. But where do you see the business? Where do you see the OTT business? Where do you see Apple TV? Where do you see Android TV? Who's going to be the dominant player? And what do you expect? Do you expect we'll be down to latency times of 1 second, 2 seconds, where it's almost as if it's live? Gute, maybe I might put that question to you first.
So I think first, we're talking about TV services, and the first thing on our services is not technology. People not buying TV service for technology; they're buying TV service for content. And what we see today on the content, on the media industry is amazing. You see more and more content owners moving into a direct-to-consumer approach. Even a small local content in Israel, which in the past they were focusing on creating a good content, and now new technology is an enabler, and it's much more easier to serve their content to the consumers. So we see more and more content owners going to these directions. So, and I think the industry must adjust to this new area. Everyone should ask them, so where am I in the future value chain? Where I want to be in the future value chain, and what is the steps I need to do, and the journey I need to walk to go to this place. And this is a fascinating times now in this industry. It's the best place to be now.
Xavier, where do you think we're going to be in 3, 4, 5 years' time? Where do you see the technology coming from? Where do you see the content coming from? And what's the experience going to be like for the consumer when all this happens?
Yeah. It's always good to talk about the future. I love talking about the future, and I think there's going to be some new experiences, right? Some more immersive experiences. We're getting used to seeing 4K services. Apple TV being a great device for that. We're going to see more, higher definition, lower latency, access to higher quality content, but also I think, like Gute mentioned, a broader range of content, right? The ability to get very localized content blended into a catalog that will be much broader, whether it's your Netflix or somebody else, but very much getting access to more content. I think the barriers to deliver content are dropping down. It becomes a lot easier to become a broadcaster if you wanted to. There are lots of tools available online to start uploading content into the cloud and distributing it on a global basis, right? So I think it's going to be ubiquity with more devices, more content being available, and I think to be able to access this content, you're going to need more personalization, right? So knowing who you are, knowing what you like, recommendation of the content, I think this is going to become more important, because otherwise you won't be able to reach and see what's happening in on your screen, right? So I think it's going to be a combination of ubiquity, broader range, and personalization. I think just to take a step back on what you mentioned before related to what you bring in this industry. I think what's fascinating here with this the conversation on Apple TV is that the bundle of video services that used to be delivered by an operator onto the set-top box, right? The identity for the operator was the set-top box in the living room with the logo on it, right? This is how people pictured access to the service. This has changed already, right? Now the bundle of services is delivered to a device, to a third-party device. And this bundle of services has become just an app, right? It's just an app deployed on an open device. So I think this is quite a big change, right? You become, as a service provider, capable of delivering your services across many different devices. And this is broader than just Apple TV, obviously, right? You start to see ISPs selling connected TVs, right? You can get your bundle of services onto connected TV. And I think this is something that we're going to see more and more devices, and not really a difference whether you are on the network or not. It's going to become easier to consume this content, I think.
And you think that this content is going to be more fragmented in terms of the producers, so you won't have, you know, sort of huge producers like public state broadcasters, that kind of thing, but more sort of local level niche kind of things that are going to be personally recommended. Guys, that is a tremendous vision of the future that you've painted for me there in the last couple of minutes, and you've given me an absolutely tremendous insight into the whole area of OTT, of Apple TV, and indeed Android TV, and what we're going to be doing. I want to thank you both very much. Xavier, Gute, thank you so much for taking part in this discussion. Remember, of course, that you can get in touch with the two guys via the networking functions offered by Nextv. Now we're going to have a break of about 30 minutes or so, and after that, Anders Waltenspiel is going to be talking to Patrick Ferguson from TiVo about implementing pay TV in the era of the crowd. Again, don't forget that you can reach out to everybody through the networking functionality on Nextv. Enjoy the break, enjoy the chance to network, and we'll be back at the top of the hour.
Thank you, Philip, for hosting us. It was amazing talking with you.
Brilliant fun, guys.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Great conversation. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.